What's up, coaches? This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
I screwed up my intro. I was supposed to say welcome back, coaches.
I don't know.
I messed it up.
I don't know.
I'm in joy. I'm not going to talk about it because it'll mess it up. Tonight, I'll get through the episode here first. We are talking about, so you read the title, Our Team Doesn't Play with Confidence. This is one of those things that like a lot of coaches say, play more confident, right? Like kids understand what that means. We're going to talk about that later. We're talking about developing a winning mindset. We're going to use the Coach Simple philosophy, understanding your why, and game planning to let your kids play fast, which is going to be great because that's not always what we do with our game plans. Last week, we talked about our practice feels stagnant and boring. And next week, we're on to we start strong but fade late in the season. And I'm interested to hear your ideas of how to keep things going, not peaking too soon. One quick ask before we get going or started. Please share this with your staff. Every episode is a conversation starter, a meeting primer, a light bulb moment waiting to happen. So lots of these things, and man, they still hit me when we sit down and read over the title of the show for the night. I'm just like, man, it fits in so many places. I really have liked the last two episodes, the way we're doing these shows and solving problems every time instead of just teaching a new thing. So definitely share out these episodes from the last two seasons, but any of the good God, I don't know how many there are. Please do share it out. We're always trying to grow the show. We want to help more coaches. It's level up time.
6 something, I think. I want to say 6. How many football coaching podcasts are there?
Don't know.
619.
Sheesh. That's a bunch.
Yep.
That's a lot of weeks of football. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yep. Every once in a while, I'm always amazed when somebody's just found the podcast and they say, I'm going back and listening to them all.
No, you're not. You better. It's
tough.
Man. Well, there are people. I think, was it Brandon Samuels is like, oh, man, when y'all don't put one out, I have, I listen to 6 days a week, 10 hours a day or whatever.
One of our coaches talked to a couple weeks ago said that whenever he hires a new assistant, a young assistant, he has them go back and listen to an episode that we did on tackling from we didn't do it. It was before you. He's like, it's like episode 36. And I'm like, what? I was like, first of all, those episodes aren't very good. Yeah.
Oh, man. That
So
first
what are we doing? What are we talking about?
But here we are all these days later.
Are we doing level up?
Figure out your level up, or do you want me to do mine?
I'll go ahead. So it's one of those weeks. There's always the weeks. Sometimes the level up is so obvious. And sometimes you're like, man, what is my level up going to be? Like, I just don't feel like there was anything. And then sometimes you're like, I have 12 things to choose from, and I'd like to spread them out. I'll kind of combine a couple and save a couple for later, maybe. Went to visit my dad this weekend with my son. It was my wife's week and a half before my wife's birthday, but this week it was a weekend where they had like a music festival up in Ocean City, Maryland, and so her and her high school friends went up there. Her parents have a house not far from there, and so they went up, and so I had my son for the weekend, and so I'm like just me and him, and so we went down to my dad's, which was great. All of the Joes, because I am the third. My dad is the junior. My son is the fourth. So it was fun. And we, unfortunately we were, we kind of built it around the Georgia-Alabama game, which didn't go so well. And my son is not a football fan yet. My dad is an Alabama guy just because my grandfather went to Alabama. My grandfather played at Alabama, backed up Bear Bryant, Don Hudson. So we have those genetics in there.
How are you not a Crimson Tide fan? I don't understand how you would just pick the enemy.
I didn't pick the enemy, but I grew up in Georgia, and my grandfather was in Tampa. Like, I didn't see him that much, and really by the time that he passed away when I was 8, so it was like, and my dad went to Florida State, so that time period when Florida State was, so I was kind of a quasi Florida State fan. But I don't know, Georgia, I'm the only Georgia fan in the family. I picked it up from my best friend growing up. His dad, his family was like huge UGA. And I just picked it up, and like it was kind of like it wasn't a good era. It was really after Donnan, or after Don and after Vince Dooley had retired, and we went through like, you know, Ray Goff and just some kind of, you know, 20-year, not 20-year, up until Rick, it was just a lot of like marginal Georgia teams. Like my first real memory is Hines Ward being our quarterback. So it's like kind of like the weird wasn't the best time. But anyway, so we went to visit him, and you know, other than that, and he's, you know, he's an Alabama fan, but like my dad's not like a massive like wild football fan or anything like that. He loves football, but he, you know, he roots for teams. He's not, he likes to watch a game. Not a coach, played in high school, you know, played in college at Randolph-Macon also. But anyway, the level up. So that would be my level up, but I know that we have people that like to get the books and all that stuff. So on the ride down, I grabbed if anybody's, I think we've talked about it, but if you have long commutes, you need to get the Libby app and get your library card, because it's
Like free books, basically.
free.
Right?
It's free audiobooks, free Kindle books, you know. But I opened it up, and usually, you know, the more popular books, you might have to wait, you know, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, you know, however long for it to, you know, just be on the waiting list basically for it, because there's a limited number of copies that each library has available. And I've got mine hooked up to, you can hook up to any library really, but if you want to go through the effort, but like mine's hooked up to 3 local libraries. So like I get Henrico, Richmond, and Chesterfield libraries. So kind of have whichever one has the shortest line. But anyway, got in the car, finished up a book, and I'm like, I need another book. And so I just went and I searched and like found one that was available. You can kind of sort it by like available now, this category. You know, I want something in this category that's available. The audiobook's available now in the kind of like personal development, business, those kind of areas was what I was looking for. Something that would put my son to sleep. And I grabbed a book called Compound Effect, which I think I've heard of before, but a really good book, short, 4.5 hours maybe. And there's another book that I got on the way home that I'll probably save for another level because I haven't finished it. But Compound Effect is a really good book. It's basically about this is where we're going to combine 3 of my level ups. It's basically about maybe 4. It's basically about the effect of doing something relatively small over and over and over and over and over again, and how that it uses the example of 3 friends. They're all, you know, the same height, same weight, same body, everything, right? They're the same person. One of them stays the same and doesn't change anything about their diet. One of them cuts out 150 calories a day, which is, you know, they give the example of like, that's not having a soda or whatever, you know, whatever small thing.
For sure.
And the other one adds in an extra Coke or an extra, you know, snack at bedtime or something like that. And, you know, through the first month, the difference is undetectable. They all do that for 30 days, and the difference is, you know, a rounding error. After 3 months or whatever, the difference is like a few pounds. It's like you can't really see it, but it's happening. But after like a year, it's 33 pounds, to where, you know, guy number 1 is still the same weight. The guy who added the calories is now looking fat.
Right.
He's put on 33 pounds. And the guy who took the calories out has dropped 33 pounds. And so the concept is that you just do something small long term. And obviously it's, you know, the compound interest effect of how those things. So interesting thing today happened that I'll just add in. September is as we've discussed, September is a tough month for this business. Everybody who is not in this business doesn't understand that this is the busy time in a way, because everybody's playing and we're answering questions and we're helping out, but we're not getting a lot of new, you know, coaches are busy right now. We got a lot of new guys in August, but then it all kind of drops off and everybody's in there. Especially September is the toughest part, because the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, like even if your stuff is bombing, you're like, you've got your new playbook, you're not going to change, you're going to keep fighting through it. And then like around August, you're like, people start making some changes for next season and stuff. We've already seen a little bit of a pickup, but September's tough. And so to go with that, I kind of like trimmed a lot of the finances just to not feel it. So I really, really dove into the finances of the business and made sure anything we had that we didn't need, I cut. And I found actually a lot of room to cut. And that kind of carried over, that mindset carried over to, well, I mean, one of the things I can cut is how much I'm taking home. which led to sitting down with my wife and saying, how much can we cut in our budget this month, so that this month, we're still doing really, doing well and everything, and don't feel it, but what can we cut? So anyway, one of the things that I did was, because I'm obsessive about this, I have not eaten out all month. I have not had a fast food, and I don't eat a lot of like McDonald's, but like I'll go get Jimmy John's for lunch one day, get a pizza on the weekend or something like that. And I've just been like, all right, what's in the fridge? I'm going to cook whatever we have. And number one, saved a lot of money that way. But I stepped on the scale for the first time in a long time, and thinking that I have not been paying attention to what I eat. I've just not been eating out. It wasn't even, it had nothing to do with like, and I'm thinking like, man, I've not been tracking my calories. I'm overweight probably. And I stepped on the scale and I was about 3 pounds lighter than I was a month ago. So I've lost like 3 pounds so again, it's just from not changing anything, but taking out that like couple of bad meals a week, like just for money. So that kind of hit me with the compound effect of like, just this little change. And it kind of goes back to that one thing idea where like, what is the one thing that you could do that would make everything better? And it's like, man, we save money, it's healthier, lost weight. Like I don't go to pick something up, so I'm working more. It's an extra 15 minutes where I'm, behind the desk. It's like, it's just kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah,
good book though, Compound Effect. I don't know the name of the author.
there you go. That's good. I'll probably listen to it here pretty soon. I generally grab yours as well. It's weird. I think we don't understand like how much when you start getting food out, like you start getting not even fast food, but if you go to a restaurant, unless it's like a really nice one, something in there has preservatives or right because they
Yeah.
need that. It's just like
It's
here.
gotta
I
have that
mean,
little
you think
extra
if you had to,
flavor to draw you in. Yeah.
yeah, a little flavor or just to keep it
Keep it
from
fresh.
going
Yeah.
bad longer because
Sure.
they don't know what their cells are going to be either, right? They have an
Sure. Yeah.
idea, but they have slow times and they have fast times and everything. So anyway, it's good. That's awesome, man. That
Yeah.
you're
And it's funny because like literally nothing else. Like, it's football season. I've had a few more cold ones.
yeah.
And it's
And you're
Monday.
not even out walking the practice field right now, like a
I'm
lot
not
of
on the
people, right?
practice field. I'm not on the practice field. Normally that kind of cancels out the McDonald's that I'm grabbing on the way because I forgot to eat. But yeah, so I'm not out on the practice field. I'm not doing anything special. In fact, I've missed a lot of workouts the past couple of weeks. I've been working a lot. And so just the past 2 weeks, I kind of burned out, honestly. I keep saying I'm going to do this. I keep saying that I'm going to get to September and I'm just going to take a week or take 2 weeks off because there's no point. And instead, what I did this year was the same thing I do every year, which is desperately work my balls off to try to find a way to bridge that gap. And I just don't know that there is a way
Still can't get it done.
other than to go do a different job for a month.
Right, right.
And the reality is I would have been better off not working, but just relaxing and, come on the Monday night chalk talk, keep up on the chalkboard community and keep up with our coaches there, but like really just take off. And instead I did the opposite. I burned myself out. I missed workouts, but I didn't eat trashy food. And
There you go. Well, congratulations to you. Honestly, that's one of those things that like once you've done it for a month, if you can stretch
right,
to 2 and just never go back,
right.
it's like you've learned what groceries you're going to eat, what is it's some other weird variation of like the 80-20 rule or whatever. Like you're going to put the same ingredients in all of your food. So just your trips
Yeah.
to the grocery store get cheaper because you can just buy bulk of here's what we eat in our house. We'll mix and match it, make it a different meal, but
Well,
it doesn't have to be a gourmet change of the menu every stinking night, So it can help.
yeah, because I want it to be simple. So like last night it was like, rotisserie chicken and a thing of rice, and we grabbed a rotisserie chicken, get the bag of rice and some mixed vegetables, and there were stuff that was already in the pantry and in the
For sure.
freezer, and just cooked it up. We were going to cook chicken that we had at home, but we forgot to thaw it.
Forgot to thaw it out. Been there.
So grab a rotisserie chicken for like $6 and move on.
I love it.
But the funny thing is, because my only concern was, and we'll move on from this. My only concern was money. I have not been cooking healthy. And normally, when I'm trying to lose weight, and I'm cutting weight for the new weight classes in weightlifting. So in
Yeah.
January, I don't the new weight classes are 88 and 98. It used to be 89 and 96 kilos, which if you look at that, that's a becomes starts to become a significant difference. It's about 4.5 pounds. I was always like kind of hanging out around, I'm a natural, not 98. 98 is like way up there. So I'm like, I need to go down to 88. I went up to 98 and I wasn't comfortable with that weight. So
Right.
it's like
You get too big, right?
217 or something like that. And it was just like this isn't me. So I want to go down to 88. But I wasn't, but normally when I'm cutting that weight, I'm like, this sucks. I'm not counting my calories. And I'm eating right, I'm doing the right things. And then you hit that wall and that pizza's on the way. And when it's like, I don't care what it has in it. I just don't want to buy the pizza out. Like I'll make the pizza at home. That pizza you make at home is so much better,
Oh
not
my
taste
God.
wise, but so much better health wise than the pizza. But it's
Taste wise,
pizza.
what are you
But
talking
it's
about?
pizza.
Like you put the
Well,
ingredients
you're
in
gonna be better
more.
making pizza than me. I mean, it tastes fine. Pizza's pizza to me.
Oh no, you got to
But
get good at it. You got to get you. Anyway, we
there you
go
go.
on and
Moving
on.
on. Yeah.
Pizza oven. My level up, and I'm excited to finally talk about it because the Wednesday after we recorded last week, I had to get up at like 4 a.m. or something and drive 3 hours to Oklahoma City and sit in front of a federal recognition board to become a commissioned officer in
Nice.
the Army National Guard. So at 19 and a quarter years of service as an NCO, I'm switching to the dark side. So I've been wanting to talk about it. We 6 years ago I went through OCS, which is the commissioning source, one of a few. But what that was for me was like 16 months, where about 12 months of it was like hell, 1 weekend a month, because I did what we call the traditional course, which is the National Guard version, with some ATs or annual trainings on each end. So went to a 2 week phase one, which legitimately was hell on earth, and then a 2 week phase two, which was just like a culminating event. Actually, a phase three, which did all the things in between those two, was where we did our annual stuff or our monthly stuff. Anyway, I completed that in 2019. And at the time, I was not able to commission because of I couldn't get a physical because I had some lower back issues. And 6 years later, I just was like, let's do it again. And so earlier this year, I spoke to my commander and told him, hey, dude, I would like to direct commission, which is, for you guys that are military, you know what direct commission is. If you're not military, it's basically like you meet all the requirements to be an officer. It's a program that not a lot of people get to use, but it's very limiting. So if you direct commission as a infantry soldier, then you can never be anything else. If you direct commission as a transportation guy, you can never be anything else. And it usually has to like match your civilian work and your whatever you've been doing up until that point in the military. And I really didn't want to do it that way. So they were able to 6 years later allow me to use my OCS time to get a OCS commission. So
Nice.
we actually get up super early in the morning and drive about 4.5 hours. My grandfather, who's 84, I think. He's old. Anyway, he's going to be my first salute, which there's a big tradition we have to buy your first salute as a new officer. So that will be really neat to be able to incorporate him because he served back in I guess he was trying to think if he had to be Vietnam. No, he wouldn't have been Vietnam. He'd been Korean War.
Could have been. My dad's 80 and he was Vietnam.
Oh yeah. So maybe it was Vietnam.
Yeah, my dad's 80 and he was Vietnam 1970. Towards
Anywho.
the end, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he went through all that, and luckily I think his deployment was a little bit weird. He ended up in a different. Anyway, long story short, he served about 8 years, 10 years, got to be an E5. It's gonna be really neat to kind of bring that back. He's suffering right now from some dementia, and he's kind of, it's one of those things where sadly we don't know how much longer we have with him in our lives, and so it's kind of like the last little thing I can do to connect him to my career and kind of thank him for his service. So it'd be super neat. Didn't mean to get all sad there, but anyway, it's going to be neat for me to finally get to be a commissioned officer. It does extend my contract from, I guess I could still commission at any time. I don't really know what all the rules are yet. I mean, I'm sorry, I could still retire at any time once I get to that 20. But realistically, I mean, this takes where I was like, hey, I'll do a couple more years and get out. And this turns to like, now the money's a lot better. The retirement pay is a lot better as long as I stay in and continue to gain rank. So It should be a lot of fun. I'm pumped for the opportunity. Like I said, I've been super excited. It was supposed to happen about a month ago, and it got pushed off for some other stuff, which made me very glad I'd not talk about it on the podcast until it actually happened. But it's official now. All the paperwork's happened. We just have to go to a ceremony tomorrow to pin me. But yeah, man, I've been kind of having that under my hat for about 3 months, I guess. We've thought this thing was actually going to happen, so it's officially official. It's one of those things where, and I've talked about it before, where you get in a room with the right people, and even if you've had a rough spot, I like to connect back to football. My football coaching career has been weird, right? This is my first year in year 6 that I'm with the same school for 2 years in a row because I had a rough spot, didn't fit on a staff, ended up having to move around a bunch, trying to just get closer to home. And then it was like, well, I'm just going to go coach with coaches that are great at this because I want to just get better. So you start chasing knowledge. But eventually you have to like, is it me? Like you continuously aren't at the same school, one reason or another. You're like, well, maybe
Right.
am I screwing something up? And then you get that job and the head coach treats you like gold. Like, dude, you have so much knowledge. Thank you for helping us. And really just it appreciates you and
Validates. Yeah.
yes, it's a validation of like all the craziness you went through or all the time you spent studying or jumping into podcast world and getting good. It validated. So kind of sitting through that FedRec board was the same thing. Like it's kind of the same way on the military side. I've been under staffs that did not like the way I operate, right? They didn't
Mhm.
not everyone loves you. And I think that if you are loved by everyone, you should really look at you might be too flexible. Right? If you don't have at least one enemy, man, what are your principles? Because there's a lot of terrible people out there and
Right.
not they should have to be your enemy, but they probably won't love you if you stand for your principles. So but getting into a room and discussing all my downfalls, and they're like, that's what are you talking about, dude? That's great. It was very much so validation for my first 19 and a half years of service. So
Nice.
really,
Congratulations.
really neat. Anyway,
Congratulations.
there we go. We talked about our level ups. Let's pay the bills real quick, and then we'll get on with the conversation.
Oh man.
I forgot to warn you to pull it up.
I know. And I saw it today and I was like, huh. Is your football team? No, that's sorry. That's not the one we're doing. That's not the one we're doing. Hold on.
The
Oh
Red
boy.
Sox did finish off the Yankees. Just putting it out there.
Oh, well. All right. Hey, look, we're gonna wing it right now because I don't know what happened. Oh, never mind. There we go. Difference between a championship defense and a defense struggling every Friday night is not just talent and it's not luck. It's your system. Without a system, you scramble every week trying to fix problems on the fly. Your players are confused. Your assistants are not on the same page, and your defense is constantly playing on its heels. I've worked with over 10,000 football coaches, and many were making the same mistakes, overcomplicating football, running a stack of plays with no reasoning behind it, just calling front stunts, blitzes, and coverages from the seat of your pants. Once we get those coaches putting a real defensive system in place, everything changes. Players play faster, coaches have more confidence. We'll talk about today, and you
Yeah, we're
start
gonna talk
winning
about
more football games. That's why I put together my it's not my latest. I got to update this free guide called "What You Need to Know to Build the Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System." Inside that guide, you're going to get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works, so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. Download your free copy right now at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around now.
I know last week I kind of talked up the Joe Daniel football system. So if you listened last week, you've already heard what I'm about to say, some of it. But if you've never heard us before, then it should be a driving force to get you over to joedanielfootball.com. We're talking about tonight is confidence in your players, right? And coaching your kids such that they can turn around and play confident on Friday night. And we're going to go through a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of ways to help you have more confident kids so that you aren't screaming, play with confidence from the sideline like that's a coaching point, because it isn't. A lot of that starts with you understanding your job. If you can't design drills that solve problems, if you can't draw up very basic schemes in football, you need to probably question what you're passing on to those players throughout practice every week. A coach telling you go run this drill, but you don't understand the why and you don't understand where your eyes should be and what you're trying to get done, you're really doing a disservice to those kids. JoeDanielFootball.com is one of those places that allows you to gain the knowledge so that you can understand the why. You can problem solve. When you step in front of your kid, you'll actually know football so you can stand before them confidently. You can pass that on and they can go play on Friday night. If you don't know, the odds are they aren't playing with any of the know either, right? So all the things we're going to mention tonight is going to be very hard to do if you don't understand football yourself. JoeDanielFootball.com gave me about 10 years of experience in football coaching in 3 years, realistically. Maybe it won't be that way for everyone because I'm jumping in the podcast every week and talking with Joe, but it's really unlimited. I mean, the chalkboard forums where you can get in and ask any question and read all the questions that hundreds of other coaches are asking, and Joe's answering them too. It's kind of what I do. I just get to do it personal with Joe and ask him, where you guys put it on a forum. So really, if you are struggling with anything in coaching, even a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, please do jump over to JoeDanielFootball.com. Sign up. All right, let's get into it, man. We are talking about a team that doesn't play with confidence. We all know what that looks like. I think I've seen it more in 7-on-7, and it's probably a lot because, one, it's a faster pace. You're getting a lot more plays. Two, there's a lot more coaches, right? I mean, not a lot of people put their OC up in the booth and their DC in the booth and 5 other dudes up there analyzing. Everyone's on the sidelines screaming. Every position coach is legitimately screaming at the. We also don't have a bunch of O linemen. It feels more compact to me. The game does. I have heard way more in 7-on-7, like the legit play more confident. And I hate that because it's what do they need to fix? And if a kid is out there and he's not confident, shoulders are shrugged, his head is down, he just got beat, he's continuously getting beat. It's not his confidence that's the root problem, right? We have to solve what is that root cause analysis, if you will, figure out what the root problem is and solve that. So, Joe, what I really, we're going to start tonight talking about the coach simple philosophy. We bring this up. It seems like every episode right now, root cause analysis says that is the root of most problems in football is you are overcomplicating ball, and guys can't just do simple fundamental things. So why don't you kind of kick us off here and just talk about how does the coach simple philosophy give confidence back to our players?
Well, the coach simple philosophy is the foundation of everything we do at Joe Daniel Football. It is the number one thing. And if you're not going to buy into that, you're not going to have as much success as you should. And you're always going to run into the problem of coaches on your staff not being bought into that. And quite honestly, most of our coaches find that they have to chip away over time. They can't get everybody to buy into it. You, if you are a loyal football coaching podcast listener, may be bought into it. And many of our coaches can tell you, and that's one of the great things about the fact we had a post on the chalkboard today that was about, how do I get these other guys to buy into this? They just won't buy into it. It was specifically about safety, overhang safety alignment, but it's the whole thing of coaches just refusing to buy into anything other than what they've always done before. And the coach simple philosophy, as obviously we've all heard the keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method, and it's kind of that, but it's not exactly that. The coach simple philosophy, as we lay it out, coach simple, play fast, win. Keep it simple so that your kids understand what they're being asked to do, and your coaches, because most of us have some inexperienced coaches on staff. We've got, you got a young defensive line coach out there, and he's never been in this before, and you can give him, if you keep it simple, he can understand exactly what he's supposed to tell the kids. You cut down on communication issues. You cut down on, which is one of the biggest killers of confidence, is when you're saying, just as an example, the position coach is saying one thing and the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator says another thing. And, you'll have a kid feel like he's got it in an individual period. And he's like, I get it. I got it. The light bulb goes on. He understands what the position coach told him. He goes out there in team and he does exactly what the position coach told him, and he gets yelled at by the coordinator. What the hell are you doing? I'm doing what coach told me. No. And the coordinator's always, and I've done it too. The coordinator's always just so dead set on, he knows what's in his mind, and he's talked to that position coach. We must all understand. And, just starts yelling at him stuff. And it's like, that's a confidence killer. That's a legitimate confidence killer. So let's keep it simple so that your kids understand what they're being asked to do. They understand their job. They know their role and how it all fits into the system. Things like the umbrella principle teaches your players how they fit into that system. Our offensive line communication process I teach my offensive linemen. I love teaching the craft of offensive line play, not to block somebody, but the craft of offensive line play. Why are you blocking this guy here? Why are you doing this? Why are you stepping this way? Why are you looking here? How does it look? I'll take offensive linemen and have them stand. We'll do our bird walk drill, and I will have them stand behind and watch how the hole opens up. So if we're running to the right, I'll take my left tackle over here because his backside block he's okay. Watch how this happens. Watch where this is going to go. Or I'll put a backup in and let him watch. Let him see how it opens up, which we're going to get into all of that. But the Coach Simple philosophy, keep it simple so the kids understand what they're being asked to do, and the coaches, and so we're all speaking the same language. We're not confusing things. Having that understanding and knowing what we're supposed to be doing, that gives that player who now understands exactly what is supposed to be done. And since you've said it in a way that he understands it and it is simple in his mind, he believes that he can do it. Belief is everything. Belief is super critical, and that's confidence. When the player believes what they're supposed to be doing, they play confident. We also talk about the opposite of that. Confident players, that's what we want. Confused players, all of the things that you are mad at your players about and that you are blaming all sorts of different things from society to whatever on are the result of being confused. And you can tell me, well, you don't know my kids. I guess I do. Confused players play soft, slow, sloppy, and scared. You're mad at your players because they're not focused. They're confused. Now, you can be mad at them about not going home and studying their playbook, or you can do what I did, quit printing playbooks out and make it so simple that you can teach them in a 90-minute practice. So all of these things, he's scared to hit. No, he wants to hit. Very few players are actually scared to hit. That's a natural physical reaction. You've got to teach the technique of tackling and the process and the reads and everything that gets them to the point, and then get them through that. And it's not by going out there and throwing them together and bull in the ring. That's a confidence killer.
Yeah.
Because I go out there and I say, all right. And first of all, bull in the ring, Oklahoma, whatever you call Oklahoma, but Oklahoma, when you guys got a really bad rep because every dumb football drill has been called Oklahoma at some point.
The original is probably the worst. So
is the original the lay on your backs dumb one, or is that's a different one? The lay on your backs, get up and kill each other. There's the 2-on-2. There's the 3-on-3 where the linemen are blocking each other, and the linebacker gets to kill the ball carrier because there's not enough blockers left.
Yeah. The original Oklahoma drill, and I could be mistaken. I've only been doing this for a little while, is 2 linemen, offensive, defensive linemen, and a running back and a linebacker.
That's one. And then there are many other things have been given the Oklahoma name. But by the way, that's the dumbest idea on the planet, because you're basically telling your running back you have no hope.
Yes.
None. Because he's not blocking. There's an unblocked defender. Like it's just a dumb drill. Played a ton of it, and I got a nice concussion in my senior year spring practice because we went straight out and did it, and I did it every day, and we collision, ear flaps flying everywhere and everything, and
I've been a part of
the rest of spring off.
Middle school kids breaking arms, high school kids tearing labrums in their shoulders.
Yep.
I don't know that I've ever ran it. It didn't go south in some way. It's the stupidest.
We used to do it. I mean, for years we did it, but in my first job, we did it year after year after year for the first 5 years. We did it, and we would do it until one of our starting linemen tore his knee, and then we would end it right there. And it's like, what if we
just stop before the injuries?
Stop doing it, because and I know what you guys are like. Well, they gotta learn to hit, and we gotta find out who's the hitter. You'll find out. Are you stupid? Like, seriously, are you? Let me ask you: are you stupid? You're not going to figure out who's a hitter between now, who's a player. You're not going to figure that out in the next 3 weeks. That you need to kill. Come the frick on! Get out of here with that. It's stupid. It's just like, that's as stupid as the argument that you need to move guys. Here, let me go ahead and drop our listeners by telling a bunch of coaches they're stupid. The argument that you need to move a guy to the position he's going to play in college instead of winning games. Listen to me. You don't want him playing for a college coach who's too stupid to look at him and figure out what position he plays in his scheme.
That's right.
Like, just you don't want him playing for that guy. So it's not my fault that the college coach is stupid. If you can't look at the guy and go, you know what, in our scheme, he's probably a defensive end and not a linebacker. It's not that hard.
Move him.
It's not that hard. He doesn't need to see him. He in that position.
Less
He can
pass
see him
drop
running around the field.
responsibility.
So anyway, I'm trying to win games. I'm not trying to do your job for you.
That's right.
Like, somebody will see him and go, oh, look at that guy. I know he's playing quarterback, but I bet he can catch. Like they just want athletes. My favorite story was like a kid was the quarterback at one of the schools that we played against, and he was just a dynamic athlete. They were running zone read, and I mean, he was unstoppable. He was phenomenal. And he went to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had a huge football camp. Now, first of all, why he needed to be at a camp, like I'm sure that he was invited, and all, he wasn't paying $50 to be there, I doubt. But he got there, smart kid, goes to the Virginia Tech camp. 70 quarterbacks, 8 receivers. And he's like, I'm going in that line.
I'm going to receive
Because
today.
it's about being seen. He goes in that line. He gets a scholarship to the University of Alabama. Like, they'll figure it out, dude. Okay, they'll figure it out. They'll get your film. So anyway, confident players play faster. That's the key here. Confused kids play slow, soft, sloppy, scared. Confident players know what they're being asked to do. They know what to do. They're confident in doing it. They show up at the point of attack. They show up at the block. They execute the scheme. They execute the run. They execute with confidence. And if you want to see guys saying we need to play more aggressive, you don't need to be more aggressive. So we go back to an old favorite. Okay. Everybody loves the crazy kids. It's best for society if there's only 1 or 2 of them. You don't need kids who are just naturally hitters. You need confident players who are executing your scheme. It's better to have that than a bunch of crazy kids because you're going to have to deal with a whole lot of discipline issues. So confident kids play fast. They show up. They play quote unquote aggressive, which is what you call aggressive, and you're making them growl and run the pass. What you need is for them showing up at the point of attack, bam, making the play. That's aggressive. That's confidence. Those players play fast. They win more. Faster players win more football games. That's science. Sorry, I just wanted to finish.
What do we do? I'm just going to kind of caveat off of that. Here I am in my. Anyway, what do you do with those crazy kids?
Well, when the police come to
You
practice,
reduce their responsibilities to a single read. You always put them at linebacker, and you teach them. If he pulls, fall. If he doesn't fill, and you don't even teach them a pass drop because they're psychotic, and you just want them in there causing chaos.
No, you didn't need cover passes. See a pass.
What if you just did that for all of your linebackers and see which ones will just show up, and all of a sudden you have 3 guys that are super aggressive, that are the crazy kid, but they're advanced enough, they're uncrazy enough. I can actually teach them a pass drop when that comes around. You know what I mean? Like, we always take those kids that just, you don't have to overcoach him. Don't overcoach him. Quit overcoaching everybody and simplify stuff.
I've coached kids who understand the game, and I've coached crazy kids, specifically at linebacker. And I can tell you that you give me, like, listen, I ultimately want the 6'2", 220 kid who can run like a deer and who has instincts. And I prefer him not be crazy. Because you know what? The crazy kid loses his mind and gets the 15-yard penalty. The crazy kid, I got to pull him out. I got to pull him out because he keeps spearing kids with the top of his helmet. I had that kid. I've had the crazy kids, and I'd rather.
Not his fault they invented cowboy collars. Okay.
I'd rather. Man, I had a phenomenal cowboy collar when I played, and I loved it. So anyway, that's the Coach Simple philosophy, and I know what I said a lot of mean things. And I don't. You don't have to change everything overnight. I know the way that football is. I know the way that you've always done it, and it's hard to just say all of this is wrong. It's hard to hear that, and you may not want to hear that. But the reality is, and you may be having success doing some of that stuff. And I always tell guys, as far as some of the X's and O's and stuff, like if it's working for you, don't change it. But is it like, be realistic, be real. Is it working for you? I always get the guys, again, I go back to, we had one on the forum on the chalkboard this week. and his coaching staff doesn't like the safety alignment. They want it to basically be, it's youth, middle school. They want it to be a 6-2, and he's lining them up at that 5x5 alignment. And they keep losing the edge. But if they move them down there, they lose the edge. They give up. They don't force. They can't force from there. And so these guys are arguing not based on what is happening, but what they think should be.
Right.
They think, and specifically, he said they think that they'll make more plays in the backfield. No doubt. 100%. You'll give up more 80-yard runs too. So which do you want to give up 2 yards a lot, or get a couple tackles for a loss and now it's 3rd and 10 and they just run outside and go for 65?
Yeah.
Which one do you want? Which one's your preference? So a part of Coach Simple, and so this goes into the next thing of the Coach Simple philosophy. Part of Coach Simple is evaluation and looking at what's actually happening on the field and solving problems and pulling levers and keeping your drills simple, not running drills because you want to run a bunch of drills, but understanding it's kind of the 80-20 principle. 20% of the drills that are out there, and I like to say it's the 98-2 because there's so many stupid drills out there. We run like each position group has like 3, 4, 5 drills. And quite frankly, there's a million drills out there, but we don't run hoops, we don't run chutes, we don't run sleds, we don't do any of that stuff. We don't use ladders. And we do things that are happening on a field. You need to have some cones maybe, and sometimes a ball, and that's about it. And when you do that, you cut out all the stuff that doesn't matter, and you say, look, this is the things that are going to produce 90% of what a football player needs to do. And I'm okay never drilling the other 10% because it's not what matters. We're going to win way more, because what happens is if you try to drill everything, it's the jack of all trades, master of none. You're not even that. You're bad at everything. You're doing drills so you've got to simplify, and you've got to find the drills, the 3 or 4 or 5 drills that matter on the field, that are going to show up, that you need to show up. So it's tackling, it's block destruct, it's key reads. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And so that's what you drill, and you build everything around that, and an understanding of this is what's important. You build your alignment. We go back to the safety alignment. What's the argument with the safeties always? The argument with the safeties is always, well, sometimes it's, well, he can make a tackle in the backfield. A lot of times it's, well, he's not going to be able to help out on a run in B gap, inside run. It's not his job. His job is force. His job is force a change of direction. His job is force, flat, fold. Okay. So if you take those 3 things, the 5x5 alignment that we teach is our base alignment with a single receiver, puts them in a position to force because he aligned where they're going and meet them on the way. I got that from Jim Reed when he was the defense coordinator at UVA. He went on as a defense coordinator at Iowa. Now he's back in Massachusetts, I think at UMass, as like a special teams or something like that. He was kind of in his retirement gig back home. Line where they're going to meet them on the way. They got the fastest kid in the county back there. They're going to run a toss with him, and you got an outside linebacker, a glorified defensive end standing out there, and he's not going to be able to catch up to him. He's going to lose the edge. So we align where they're going and meet them on the way. Well, you're also, by being 5x5, you're much closer to your flat coverage. If you're running cover 3, if you're running quarters, whatever it is, and you have flat coverage, you're closer to that flat coverage. You're also, by having the 5 yards depth, you're in a position where, as long as you use your don't go till quarterback ball up, ball down reads, where you can fold in and make the play for a 4-yard gain inside on a B gap run. Now, you wanted to make a play for a 2-yard gain in the B gap, and you want to make a tackle for a loss on an outside run, but you're going to give up 65 yards and you don't have any flat coverage. Now, that may not matter to you if you're a youth team, but if you're a high school team, that matters to you greatly. So it's simplifying and understanding those things. And if you decide that you don't want to do that, then you continue to lose. So it's simplifying and understanding what needs to be done with the position. And the last thing is, and I know I want to get the whole Coach Simple thing out, because I want to get every question answered, piss off everybody that I can, and then move on. It does not mean you run a 4-4 cover 3. That's not what simple means. Okay. Do we start a lot of coaches out? Do I think a lot of coaches should be running a 4-2-5 cover 3? Absolutely. Do we have a lot of coaches winning a lot of football games doing that? Yes. We have a team that's doing that in Alabama, is absolutely dominating right now. We talked about it before. Absolutely dominating. Cover 1, cover 3, 4-2-5 base. Dominating. dominating teams levels above them. Okay. Does it work? 100%. Do we have coaches all over that are doing this and having tremendous success? Yes. But that doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. You may be, if you are in Tulsa, like that's probably not the thing, right?
Those
You,
guys they're mixing it
because
up.
you're playing at a different level.
Right.
You're playing, if you are coaching in college, that's probably not the thing. If you are coaching now in the NFL, they run a lot of 3-1, but it's a different 3-1. There's a ton of disguise. There's a ton of pattern matching. There's a ton of different stuff, man, passing off, tendency and stuff. And we've talked to Dominic Franks on here. NFL calls are 3-1. They run 3-1 in quarters. And this, which is the exact same coverages that we have in our system. But there's a million, when they say 3, there's a million different components to that they have to know. Or as he said, there's a couple safeties that played at Atlanta with him that didn't know it, but they were really good. And so everybody else has to work around them. That's the NFL. And by the way, that should be your team too. If you have a kid who's phenomenally talented, but just isn't grasping the system, you can try to simplify the system, but you can also simplify the system for him while making sure that the other kids who are ready to deal with it are holding it up. That's part of Coach Simple. That's part of pulling levers. That's part of adjusting. You need to decide what simple looks like for you. What we find is that most of the times what works for you is actually simpler than you think, but we have lots of coaches that are multiple front. We have lots of coaches running quarters. We have lots of coaches running heavy blitz packages. We have complex blitzes. We have exotic blitzes. We have quarters coverage. We have split field. We have all of those things when it is needed. I talk a lot about the 4-3 system. I love the 4-3. The Miami 4-3 is brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. It is what I learned football on. I've run it. I have not run it in years because with a team with 27 kids and a limited coaching staff, it is not a good system to run.
Right.
So what is simple for you? It varies by what's right in your unique situation, and everybody's situation is unique. Ultimately, the number one thing is, what do you understand that you can teach your kids and they can execute? That's what matters. It's not numbers. It's not 3-4, 4-3, 4-2-5. That doesn't matter. It's what, if you get it, like if you're a 3-4 guy and you can just teach it and you're a great teacher and you were able to teach everybody on your staff, because the 3-4 adds an extra element of complexity by having multiple people be forced and stuff. If you can teach all of that and everybody understands it and everybody just gets it and your players get it and they play fast and you're a great teacher, because how good a teacher you are changes what's simple. Because the better teacher you are, the better the simpler things get, right? I mean, that's just, so there's my whole Coach Simple rant, I think.
I love it. And honestly, Joe, that pushes us right in the second part. We're going to talk about understanding your why, but it goes back to simple. And you said it earlier. Coach Simple philosophy does not mean 4-4 cover 3. It means that when I coach an outside backer in my system, one, I've reduced what he has to do. You just said it yourself. The 3-4, different people are forced at different times, right? Because you're building fronts. We always get back to that. Like, okay, that's the real complexity of the 3-4 is like, who are you bringing as your fourth blitzer?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 3-3 stack, there's almost always a fourth blitzer. Now, it's 3rd and 18. Maybe you don't see the fourth blitzer and you're dropping 8. But even then, it's high school ball. If you rush 5 at 3rd and 18, you're probably getting a sack or an incomplete. But my point is, if you know your why, if you understand what you're trying to do in a very simple system, in a 4-2-5 or 4-4, if you will, whatever you want to call it, cover 3, I can add to that, right? I can explain what force is very simply. I can explain what spill is. I can explain what the flat is. What is a third, right? These are all things that I can explain very simply out of a 4-2-5 cover 3 that if I start in a 3-4 or a 4-3 or a 3-3, I could find a little more difficult to teach those things because I have to teach multiple versions at the same time. Start with force. This outside backer is the force every time in the 4-2-5, right? The hardest thing you can do in the 4-2-5, and I tried to do it my second year at this game, was try to go too high, split field, and then tell that guy you're aligned at 10, you're running read 2 to twins, and you've got to force the ball at the line.
The vertical route in the force, yeah.
He's always wrong, right? And maybe that's one of those. If you want to be a too high guy, maybe 4-2-5 ain't for you. Go run a 3-4. answer it with another solution. But it's doable. It's just a little more difficult. It's not simple. You're not telling that guy, go to 5x5, read the offensive tackle. If he goes down, come light him up at the line of scrimmage. If he reaches you, come light him up at the line of scrimmage. If he does any kind of a high hat whatsoever, go to your flat and intercept the ball, because that's where they're going, because this is high school ball. But it allows, the Coach Simple philosophy just lets you start very basic, very simple, get kids to understand what football is. Dude, I got all the way through. I played for 4 years. I played a fifth year, my first year in college. I didn't understand what a cover three was. I was a safety in college, and he was like, "Hey, roll over the top, cover three." I was like, "What the hell is that?" All it ever been, it was an outside backer in a 4-2-5 running cover three. I was a flat player. Look, you either hit the guy, I send you on a blitz to sack the quarterback, or you go to the flats. That's all I ever did. I didn't know the rest of it. So Coach Simple is allowing kids to understand ball at a very simple level, and then you can add to. You can always turn up the complexity later, but you got to get kids flying around, playing confident, like we're talking about in this episode. And you can do that by just taking a lot off their plate. They have enough as it is. They don't need to know 47 coverages. They don't need to know that sometimes I'm forced, sometimes I'm not. I'm even really weary about running just base cover two, because that puts a corner in a position to force, and that scares the shit out of me. You know who
Yeah,
we use corner?
depends on if it's your base or not. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, every other team in history cover two, or we put corners as the kid that can't tackle, but man, can he run? You're not going to get behind him, but he's not there to tackle. Dominic Franks, like we've already mentioned him once tonight, came on this podcast and said the NFL did not pay me to tackle. That's not my job. You
Deion
paid
Sanders is
me.
the greatest example ever. I mean, Deion Sanders was not a good tackler.
Yeah,
He's one of the. I mean, if you've ever seen Deion Sanders tackle, I don't think he ever like laid anybody out.
yeah,
But like best cover guy maybe in history. I mean,
yeah.
and it's like, yeah. So you're right.
Reducing the multiplicity of people's responsibilities is where it starts, right? And then we get back into that understanding your why and the ability to teach a kid, why do we have our key reads? Why does an inside backer have key reads? If you're teaching him all these mug alignments and all, he's got 13 blitzes to learn. He has 5 coverages because we want to run, even if it is just cover 3, but man, we want to fall into 5 different versions of cover 3 to confuse a quarterback who doesn't even, he's not looking past the old line, man.
Again, in some places that matters, but most it doesn't.
Right. And so we get into this play, like, it's a lot easier to teach a kid the why behind his key reads. Look, if he pulls, follow. If he doesn't fill, if you get a hi hat, drop and look for work.
I don't even get to that usually.
That's very, very simple.
But if you go into like take the if he pulls, follow. If he doesn't fill, and you teach them, look, if that guard this is a guard read for linebackers positional,
right?
If he pulls, so when we line up in our alignment rules, we look at the numbers. If you draw, and I teach them, you draw a line down the middle. Same thing I teach our coach. Draw a line down the middle. How many guys are over here? How many guys are over here? And okay, we've got 5 and 6. And in our defense, we've got 5 and 6, or we've got 5.5 and 5.5, or we're somewhere in the, within a half man.
Yes.
When that guy pulls, how many guys do they have over there? Well, now they have 7. Okay, if you stay over here, it's 5.5 on 7. If you go over there, it keeps the numbers matched, and that's why you have to follow him. And if he doesn't pull, then the run has a chance of coming back here, which means that you've got to play for the cutback, or even if it's away from you or it's at you. So you teach them the reason behind it. And I one of my proudest moments was actually we had one of these issues where the defensive coordinator and I weren't on the same page. But my safety, actually was outside linebacker in a 3-4, was lined up 5x5. And the defensive coordinator had a call that we were putting in, but I kept him 5x5. And the defensive coordinator says, "What are you doing out there?" Something like that. And we got it straight. We kind of just said, we'll get it straight. But he said, you slide in here. And he goes, "Okay, but I'm not going to be able to force." And I was just like, I'm standing back there like, yeah,
The
Yeah,
kid
that was one of
knows.
our proudest moments.
He knows
Now,
the why.
I was wrong because something had changed in the call, but the fact that he knew if I'm out here, if I'm in here, I cannot be the force guy. So he had to clarify, am I still the force guy? Like he understood why that alignment is.
Yeah.
And so once he understands if you want somebody to have the right alignment, they know why. I go back to, we've talked a lot about defense here. Offense is the same thing. And really in the simplification, what you want to do is strip everything down in the playbook. And the key here is that everything has a purpose. And that purpose is clear. Not only is that purpose clear, but that purpose actually happens. That's really important. So when you run a drill, you know this drill is to do this thing. Nick Saban, this is a book that I'm reading right now, John Wooden. Nick Saban, John Wooden, very much into the process and this one thing that we're doing right now. And so when Nick Saban went into a meeting, when Nick Saban went into a practice, if you look at JDFB, if you're a JDFB coaching systems client and you see our practice plans, every single one of them has the focus at the top, right? It has the install, but it also has the focus for the day.
Yep.
And we talked to a coach about this. We talked about this on Chalk Talk last night, actually. Coach asked me, he wasn't getting rip drill. And I said, well, if they're not ripping through the block. And I said, well, if that's the issue, you should do nothing but, because really we only have the capacity in a 90-minute practice plan or a 2-hour practice. We only have enough time to really affect 2 things. Okay. Honestly, it would take about an hour of work to really affect something, at least 45 minutes to really have a lasting effect, which means if you try to work on 5 different things, how much effect have you had? None. But if your players play both ways, offense and defense, you have the chance to work on one thing to really, really affect change. And when I say affect, I mean actually make it permanently better. You have enough time in a 2-hour practice or a 90-minute practice to do that to one thing on offense and one thing on defense. That's it. That's what you have the time to do. Yep. And so if you go into that practice and you say to that player, we are going to run this drill because we need to get better at doing this. And we're going to run this drill. And then we're going to go to a group. We're going to run this indie drill. And then we're going to go to a group drill that is set up for you to get to use this thing we're working on in indie. So let's say we're working on defensive line down blocks. We are going to do nothing but run our defensive line key read drill. And we're going to do down block, base block, down block, reach block, down block, down. We're going to do 2 down blocks for every, and we're only doing that because we want you to not just know it's down block every single time and go through the motions. And we're going to take that, and then we're going to go to a group session. We're going to go to a half line drill. And when we go to that half line drill, we are going to run half line, and we are going to run power, trap, or let's just say power. We're going to run power inside zone, or power outside zone. We're going to do nothing but it's going to be we're going to have enough time to run 15 plays. 10 of them are going to be power. And I want to see you execute squeezing a down block. And when you do that, we are going to throw a party. We are going to celebrate it because that is all that matters. And you tell them, I don't care if you make the tackle. So there's no reason for you to even look for the ball in this drill. All that I care about is I want to see guys squeezing a down block. That's all I care about. Nothing else matters. And I'm not going to do that one day. I'm going to do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I'm going to be, and then I'm going to go from that, and I'm going to go run the same kind of script in team, right? Where we're going to get a couple of, but this week we've got to defend the power. We've got to squeeze the down block. And so that's all that we are doing. Everything is built around that. I'm not even worried about you tackling, because ultimately, if you squeeze that down block, you're not going to get to make the tackle anyway. You're going to spill it, and it's going to go to our unblocked linebacker when it scrapes over. So, and he's working pulls follow, right? If you're working pull follow, because the backside linebacker is going to scrape and he's going to get to make all his tackles. So that's what your entire world is built around. And that's what you do. That's really a big thing of Coach Simple philosophy, is that you are doing something that has a purpose, a focus. The same thing in your playbook. Every single play needs to have essentially a purpose, a name. This is so we talk about our offensive playbook, and you strip your offensive playbook down. Guys always go, how many plays do I need in middle school? How many plays do I need in this and that? And I wish high school coaches would do the same things. We have a lot of high school coaches winning a lot of games because they've bought into this. You strip everything down to 4 runs. You have an inside run, an off tackle run, an outside run, and a counter. You have a play action off of whichever one of those is your best play. You pick one of those. You don't pick it. You obviously a lot of times you let your players pick it. They figure out, your players will tell you which one they're best at. You find out in your scrimmages and stuff if you have this, and then you run that play to death. And you get so good at that play that they cannot stop you in that play unless they bring extra players over. When they bring extra players over, that makes all of the other 3 run plays or the play action easier. So every single one of those plays has a purpose. I run this play when they slide everybody out. I run this play when they slide everybody in. I run this play when the corner jumps up. I run this play when with the ways that they adjust, who makes the tackle and who's making the play. I run this play. Every single one of those plays has a name, and you don't add another play outside of that until you have a reason. And then your reasons can be, okay, I need to get these guys out of the box. So my reason is I'm going to install a hitch and a fade. My reason is I need to be able to throw the ball. My reason is I need to be able to do this and that. My reason is I need to be able to attack a different coverage. And so those plays all have names. They all have purposes. They all have, if you just have past concepts, but you don't know their purpose, that's one thing. But if you have past concepts and they're officially designated for attacking cover 3, attacking cover 1, attacking 0 coverage, attacking cover 2, then that's perfectly fine to have 4 or 5 different passing concepts. If you have, what we see a lot of is we've got 5 different passing concepts. They have no name. They're all cover 3 beaters or something like that, or they're all man beaters. And it's like, but you don't, the coach doesn't know that. Or I see coaches with a playbook that has 3 inside runs. They have 3 different ways to attack a gap.
Yeah.
You don't need that. But they don't have an outside runner. They don't have an off tackle runner. They don't have a counter. And it's like, what? It doesn't work. So everything has to have a name. Everything has to have a reason. And when you expand the playbook is when you say, hey, we need a little something extra. So maybe you are a base 4-2-5 cover 3. And you say, you know what? We need something for those times where the quarterback, we're not getting home with a 4-man rush. We need a way to bring an extra rusher in a passing situation. So now you install a blitz. We need a way to drop 8. And so now you install a different front. We need a way. So, you have a reason for that.
Yeah.
A purpose behind that.
That's a really good point. And it comes like when I think cover 3, I always think, well, they're just going to throw a hitch all night. And I just watched film this week, which
How many? Yeah.
We aren't live, thankfully. The guys we're going to go try to beat on Friday 2 weeks ago threw 35 hitches because there was a cover 3, cover 4 team. Their corner started at 9 and bailed. Like, of course, you're just going to throw hitches all night. Sometimes you got to go up and press. But if you're
just not play 9 yards off. You don't, by the way, cover 3 does not require you playing 9 yards off.
100%.
You shouldn't.
But if your kids understand their why, I guess we're going to mention Dom a lot tonight, but he came on and talked to us about like, hey, sometimes we press and play cover 3. It's the same thing. I throw off the quarterback, and then I'm just turning and running as fast as I can to 14 yards deep and playing whatever route comes my way.
Pete
Right?
Carroll's Seahawks team made a killing doing it.
Yeah. And so it goes back to knowing your why. And I want to say this about knowing your why, and then we'll move on. I know we're over an hour, Joe.
Yeah.
That's what happens when
we went a little long early. Yeah.
We did when our intro stuff is long, but football doesn't happen on a whiteboard. And so if I teach my kids a coach simple system and they understand what I'm trying to accomplish within that simple system, it allows them to take this very complex thing called football and problem solve on the fly, right? Just because I tell a kid it's cover 3, you're an outside backer, you're running to the flats if it's pass, he might be covering a hitch. He might be covering a speed out. He might be end up trying to cover a curl. He might be trying to help with a comeback if nobody's underneath him. It might be we run a ton of like we get our running backs running out toward the sideline. So like a flare route, I guess, if you will. That's a lot of complexity for a kid that was told, oh, hey, buddy, you got the flats. You know what I mean? That is a ton of situations for him to problem solve. What if the quarterback starts scrambling? That's another situation. What if the quarterback starts scrambling, it's boot out, and now the quarterback's like doing the air traffic control where he's telling all the guys where to go as he's running the sideline. You've just taken a kid's very simple for you and boring cover 3, go to the flat drill and turned it into like, that's 10 things to problem solve on the fly. So when you get into this Coach Simple philosophy, this knowing your why and understanding why we do the things we do, it isn't to problem solve the very, very simple, oh, it's 4 verts and we're running cover 4. Great. Yes, you have the answer. What if it's 4 verts? 2 of them are comebacks and the other 2 are reading which direction your safety goes so they can run the other way, right? So you have to add back in that the other coaches get paid too. So your kids got to be able to problem solve on the fly. If they have 35 coverages and they're sometimes 4, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're blitzing, sometimes they're over the top, that's a lot to do when football gets back out on grass and off the whiteboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Let's jump to the last part, Joe, or we will go on forever here, man. Game planning simply to let your kids play fast. And this is a big one because I think it combines those two. It
It's a
takes
lot
the
of what we've
art
been
away.
talking about, but just it's simplifying the thought process for
Absolutely.
players.
Yeah. When you get to going into Friday night and you watch film on Saturday and Sunday, and you're like, this is what we're going to do to stop this team this week. I think this is where the kind of the rubber meets the road. We have to game plan in a way that our kids aren't playing confident because we're giving them too much. Once again, Coach Simple. But also, maybe it's because we're trying to answer the problems with too many solutions, right? So it
Or
goes
trying to
back
fix
to
problems that aren't there, which is a big one.
chasing ghosts. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely, man. So walk us through that kind of how do you game plan so that your kids they go through practice and on Friday they know what the heck is going on.
It's a lot of what we talked about in that, go back to the defensive end just needing to squeeze a down block. If you look at a game film and you say, you know what, this is a gap scheme team, and if we don't stop power, we have no chance. And I'm okay with them beating us with inside zone because I don't think they're that good at it. They're not an inside zone team. So I'm going to tell my defensive end, preload your brain, tilt a little bit. And if that guy steps down, you crash. And if he, base blocks you, you're not in a great position, but just react off for that first step to.
Yeah.
With the corners, especially, I've always been able to do this with corners. Been able to do it with safeties, with the ball down read, fast, and obviously we do it with the linebackers. If he pulls fall, if he doesn't feel, we simplify it. But corners, we can often look and see, okay, they have, and one of the things you have to learn passing concepts, and you have to start understanding what the passing concept is and that it's tagged. Guys will say, well, they run 9 different concepts. No, they don't. No, they don't. And if they do, let them do it because they're nonsensical. You're tagging every single time a kid ran a wrong route as a concept, or every single time they tagged a different route for a kid as a concept, and it's not. I take our 60 pass, right? 60 is hitch seam, 60 all hitch is 4 hitches, 60 up is four verts, 60 HY out is bench concept, and out and up 60 up HY out is a bench concept with an out by the inside receiver and a go by the outside receiver. It's one concept. Okay, it's one concept, and we don't have that, but it's not that complicated. And if you sit there and go, well, they've got, I can run that one concept, and they can go, well, I've got 4 different things that we've got to defend. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you look at that, let's say that that's all we do, and you're defending 4 concepts. I go to the corner and I say, look, they run a hitch and a go. The first 3 steps, you are slow, and you're keying the quarterback. And if after you take your 3 slow pedals in cover 3, you take those first 3 slow pedals, and all you're thinking is hitch, 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 hitch. You go first 3 steps. It's almost a walkout. It's 1, 2, 3. It's the same amount of time a quarterback takes to go 3-step drops. It's about 1.3 for the ball to come out, but you'll see the quarterback starting to release it at 0.8, 1 second, depending on how good they are, how good the snap is, all this other stuff. But the ball should be 1.3 on the, getting there. So for the first second, let's say, you're going, it's a hitch, it's a hitch, it's a hitch, it's a fade. Right? That's it. That's your life. That's your life. That's what you're going to do. This is your entire life. It's a hitch. It's a hitch. It's a hitch. Nope, it's a fade. So you play hitch, then you play fade. We talk about the goal line with the corners. The corners are really easy ones to look at for this, right? So the corners look at this and they go on the goal line. What does the number 1 receiver run on a goal line? He runs a slant and he runs a fade. So I tell them you align inside, and we're about 5 yards off because you can't beat me over top at that point. I got sideline help. So we're on the goal line. I align a couple yards inside, 5 yards off. I'm standing in the slant window. I've taken slant away with my alignment, with my body. And now mentally, My alignment took away slant. I don't have to play slant. I've already taken slant away. With my mind, I play fade. My body took away slant, and all I have to think about is fade. That's game planning and simplifying, and you can apply that to every position. You can preload the brain. You can say this is what it's going to be. So like we had a coach last night who said, we're playing a team and they don't pull. They're youth team that there's no pulls. This team just runs. They probably got T's over all their linemen in the playbook. They're just blocking somebody, and I said, there's no pulls and there's blocking straight ahead. I said, okay. So should I key the backfield? No. Because they have other teams, the good teams are pulling and they're doing it. They're running the single wing, or they're running, they're running the double wing, or they're running a real offense, right? So I said, just go ahead and tell them, look, you're 99% sure that you're getting a no pull read, but a key read, all it does is tell us the first two steps. So all he's going to do is he's going to still key the guard, and he's going to take his first two steps, bam, bam, downhill, 5 yards off. 2 steps, bam, bam, downhill, and his eyes are picking up the backfield. And then he's just going to react to the backfield like he would always. So all you've done is you've preloaded his brain with, I'm going to be filling, but then I got to pick up the back. So now he doesn't really have to key read the guard, but he's playing it the same. He's playing it the same. Let's say that we had another coach who was talking about an H-back. The H-back motion was almost always power, but every once in a while it was counter. And so he really wanted to make sure they stopped the power, but once in a blue moon, it was counter. Because now you tell the Will backer because they're motioning the H-back over to the tight end side. Is our offense, basically. You want to know how, so I said, you want to slide a linebacker, and says, that's what we want you to do. Don't do that.
Right.
When he goes over, don't move your Will linebacker. Don't slide him over. But he just is keyed up now for it's going to be a pull. It's going to be a pull. It's going to be a pull. And when he sees that ear hole turn, he's a missile. But if that ear hole doesn't turn, he goes, ups, Phil. So he's the linebacker coach. I want to say Joe Coughlin, but it's about Austin State at the time. He told me, he said in a clinic, he said that he didn't teach any linebacker reads. He said they read a picture. They look at the picture and they say, this is what I think it is. And he said, we're right about 70% of the time. And then the rest is reacting to what you saw. But you're preloading the brain with, this is what it's going to be. Oh my God, this is it. But you've still got that little bit of, but if it's, so what you do is you preload the brain for a million. I'm going to go, it's going to be a pull. It's going to be a pull. It's going to be a pull. Now you don't go anywhere until it's a pull. But when it's a pull, you're a missile because that's what you're waiting for. We do this with our offensive linemen too. We preload the feet. Okay. I don't want to give away where I'm going, but I can put a little more weight in my backside foot mentally because I know that I'm going to be stepping with my right foot. So I'm going to put a little more weight in my left foot so that I can push off with that right foot a little bit quicker. Offensive linemen do this all the time with the snap count, by the way, because they're anticipating that the quarterback is going to say set go and how long it's going to be. And so they're anticipating and they're moving on the t instead of the g, right? They're moving just a little bit earlier. In fact, my dad asked me why so many offensive linemen jump off sides. I was like, well, number one, or maybe it was my wife. Somebody asked me why. I think it was my wife actually, but somebody asked me why the offensive linemen are always the ones that jump off sides. And nobody else said, well, number one, the receivers are supposed to be going on ball movement. They're not because in an NFL state, this is an NFL game, so I know it was my wife, not my dad. He didn't watch the NFL. The receivers can't hear the snap count in an NFL stadium, right? So they're watching ball movement. So if they jump off sides, it's because they just went. They didn't hear something, right? They just went. The quarterback obviously can't jump off sides because he doesn't have a ball in his hands, and he's the one who gets to make the snap count. And so he's, hopefully he knows when it's coming. The running back is standing right there, and he usually has a little hesitation or something like that. Occasionally they jump off sides, but the offensive linemen are the ones that are trying to anticipate the snap because they have a very angry gentleman across from them who is very large and very quick, and they need to get that jump. And so they're the ones who are trying to go a tenth of a second early. And if there's a lot of times, sometimes they forget the snap count because they're so anxious. Forget the snap count, but they're so anxious about this very angry gentleman across from them that occasionally they just like to do a little bit extra. But a lot of times it is because you see them get called because they are moving early. They didn't jump as so much as they tried to get the jump. And that is because they need that extra advantage, but it's because they are preloading the brain on, I expect the quarterback to go in this cadence and the center to snap it. The center is supposed to snap the ball a little bit earlier than he's supposed to, right? So everybody can get moving. and all of that creates the occasional offensive lineman being a little bit earlier than he should have.
For
Now,
sure.
sometimes you have the rookie who's just, there's so much noise, there's so many things going on, and he just gets nervous. He's got a Hall of Fame defensive end about to pass rush him, and he just came in as the backup left tackle, and he's like, he knows he's got to pass that at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he's trying to get anything he can. He gets that, but we're preloading and we're thinking, and I think that if I can preload what I expect, offensive line, going back to the pass rush thing. If I'm an offensive lineman, I need to study the defensive lineman that I'm going to be blocking, because I need to preload my brain when it's a pass. I need to preload my brain with, this is his best pass rush move, and this is what I need to expect. If I am going to block this guy, we talked about Michael Strahan had 2 pass rush moves, Hall of Fame. Okay, if I'm there, he has a pass rush, he has a move, and he has a counter move. Okay, and so as an offensive lineman, I'm sitting there going, I'm going like, I got to stop the move, 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 because if I don't preload my brain to stop the move, he's going to beat me with that, right? So he's just going to beat me. If I'm out there going, let me see what he does, he's winning. Okay, so I'm out there to stop the move. He's out there going, if he goes to stop the move, I'm hitting the counter, right? So we're all playing that game. But these are guys at the highest level, and they're simplifying that. And you're telling your guys, if he does this, do this. 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 And don't try to guess. Just go out there and find out when play starts. Yeah. There we go. That's it. Okay, we're done.
There's a lot of yes. And it's that fast, right? I kind of thought you were talking fast there, but it's like, think about
I absolutely was talking fast.
we got an offensive lineman who's out there in the middle of a game, and the game's on the line, and now he's not been taught to pre-wire his brain for the thing, and life comes at you quick.
Well, that's it. You go an offensive line play, and we can go for another 3 hours on offensive line play. But that's what communication is about. Communication is about anticipating what they might do. He's a walk up. He's off. Hey, they're stacked. Watch out for the twist. That's communication. If I don't do that and I just wait to see what happens, or if I don't teach them rules and I teach them to block a front that I think I'm going to see, and that front doesn't happen, they're out of luck.
Yeah. Last little bit of here, in your game plan, I think kind of tying it back into that last point of understanding your why. Kids need to know why the game plan is what it is this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky that I'm in an offense that has about 1,000 tags. None of them talk to the same kids too much, so kids can learn them easily. But we as coaches can do this Picasso masterpiece on any given play. However, the kids understand the why behind the tags. We aren't just ripping and roaring on Friday night. We're doing the things because we can. We're using them to problem solve, and the kids understand what the problem they're seeing is. The quarterback may even, and I've been in this situation where the quarterback knew what tags he needed to defeat the problem because he understood the why. Okay, so just going back, and this is one of those episodes, all 3 pieces really fit together all night long. Not always the case, but it is tonight for sure. But in your game plan, if you're doing something that you can't explain the why to your kids, you might need to take it out of the game plan, because now you're just going out adding stuff that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have a purpose. Go back to what you said, Joe. It better have a stinking purpose, right? Whatever that looks like to you. If you're an inside linebackers coach, it may be alignment. Maybe we slide half a man this way to trips, or a full man, or whatever it is. There's reasons out there for anything you do. Don't just be inputting things to input things, right? The kids better understand the why. Because if you don't have a why, they're not going to play fast, because now you've probably changed the core philosophies of your defense. Now, all of a sudden, your outside backer isn't just read an offensive tackle, play force, or go to the flats, right? Or blitz, if you call it. Now he's got another thing to do, and he may not understand why. Oh, well, now we're playing inverted cover 2, and you got to go cover a third. That doesn't make sense, coach. I've never done that. Can you tell me why? If I tell him why, oh, well, they're I don't know, a smash team, or they're a whatever. Maybe they're a flood team, and you're just wanting that corner to sit on that quick out they throw every single time. Now they've given a why, and they can understand a little bit better. Kind of puts it into something they can do. Anyway, there you go. I think we've checked all the boxes tonight. We're running, hour 21. I'm excited. That's a good one. I'm going to get a text from Brandon. I can feel it. Guys, and we appreciate you sticking with us tonight. I know a little bit longer episode than normal. I think that's good sometimes.
Yeah.
If this made you think about coaching differently today, please do pay it forward, right? That's why we're in this profession. Specifically, Joe and I, Him running JoeDanielFootball.com, me trying to help him out with the podcast, and us just going to talk about keep things simple for your kids. You don't have to be super complex. And man, I read a really good quote earlier, and I wish I would have pulled it up. But basically, it said that we do a lot of things just to look smart, to look smarter than the other people in the room. We don't have to do that. Go out and do what works. Call things very simple. Help your kids be confident by letting them just know what the hell's going on. Tonight, we talked about developing a winning mindset. We talked about Coach Simple philosophy, understanding your why, and game planning simply to let your kids play fast. Last week, we talked about our practices feel stagnant and boring. Next week, you'll hear us talking all things starting strong in the season, but fading quickly, and we can't get out of the season at the end. Joe, let's pay the bills and get out of here, man.
We'll keep it very short. You need a system. You need to have your defensive system in place. You need to have your offensive system in place. If you need to tighten up your defensive system, figure out what needs to be in there, what needs to be taken out, how to run a defensive system that is coach simple. Get the free guide at joedanielfootball.com/system to build your ultimate defensive system that is in the coach simple philosophy. And again, it's joedanielfootball.com/system, or you can go to joedanielfootball.com and you'll see a drop down at the top. It's called, I think it says guides. And that's got all of our guides there. Right now, there's only 2 that are listed, but the breaking the losing cycle and the defensive system are both there. Both free.
Perfect. Do we have any idea what sales are opening and closing this week, which is, I don't know, mid-October?
We're going to have, I know it's going to be coming up soon. I don't know exactly when this is coming out, when it's going to be, but we will be opening up we will have a deal for the FB weight room. It's always available, but we're going to have a little special for JDFB weight room as you come out of the season, getting ready. I know a lot of coaches will start in January, but some will start in December, but it's designed to run from basically first week of January up to August 1st. And we do have a 2-week on-ramp program. So if you want something to do in December, just to get your kids ready, then you can run their on-ramp program, get all their numbers, then they go to winter break. When they come back in January, you hit the ground running. And I know coaches like to have them, a little bit of time to review the program and get prepared.
For sure.
And so we'll open that up in October. It is the best strength training program that there is. And it's in large part because of what we talked about tonight. It does the things that matter. And you don't need special equipment. You don't need fancy equipment. And most programs that are out there overcomplicate what your athletes need, because your athletes are young. Your athletes need core strength. They need explosiveness. And they need injury prevention, which is often overlooked. And it's all built in. Chris is an expert by beyond all means. And so, yeah, JDFB weight room will be opening up here soon.
Social media, I am at Coach Chamber OK on Twitter/X. I'm not taking a complete hiatus, but I have deleted it off my phone. I'm going anti-social media, just like you, Joe.
I'm back.
I got where I can't put my phone down. I can't enjoy my family time.
Yeah.
I'm always checking it. I want to be returning messages in 5 seconds. I'm done with it for a while. So please do reach out to me there, but understand that it may be a little bit before I get back. I'm still sharing things on the computer only, though. That's my check for now. You can also email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. That is on my phone. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me now. Joe, where are you at, sir?
I am actually looking at comments and responding at times to YouTube and Facebook right now. And Twitter, if you send me a DM, I might see it or something if you mention me. But I am actually paying attention to that stuff a little bit more, just out of interest. I don't know how long it's going to last,
Right.
but I will say, Daniel, that I don't have any of that on my phone, and I don't do any of it on my phone. I do it specifically in predetermined. It is only for business, and it is only for responding to people, and that's it. And so I have predetermined times. So like you won't see me on there all the time. Once or twice a week, I'm going to check in. I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to answer to whatever. That's basically what I do with it. But I'm facebook.com/JoeDanielFootball, at JoeDanielFootball on Instagram. That one I don't have because it's only on the phone, right? I mean, you can do it online, but it's really a phone app. And it's really difficult.
Yeah.
So that and TikTok, we have at JoeDanielFootball on TikTok, at JoeDanielFootball on Instagram. And it's just, I don't manage them really. I know that I can manage all the DMs from online, but the YouTube, obviously you can watch the podcast at joedanielfootball.com/YouTube, and then on X at football info. But yeah, I am
the greatest of all time.
I am, football info. But I am dancing around on there.
There you go. The podcast is at the FBCP on Twitter/X. If it's your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher, especially Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You've been listening for a while, please do leave us a review. It doesn't matter where you listen to it. I usually say on Apple Podcasts, but anywhere you're at, leave us a review and help spread the word. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. And remember, coach simple, play fast, win.